What if I told you that there would be no Super Bowl halftime show without the Wayans brothers? You probably would not believe it. This is the real story that has been erased. Now let's take it back to January 1992. The Dallas Cowboys are facing the Buffalo Bills in Super Bowl XXVI, and nearly 90 million Americans are glued to their televisions. The country is deep in recession. Communities are still living with the fallout of the crack era. And the Rodney King beating is still replaying across the news cycle. People are tense and exhausted. But the Super Bowl still feels like one of the few national events that can temporarily distract the country. Even so, the halftime show of that era offered nothing worth remembering. It was essentially a built-in intermission. Marching bands, slow-moving choreography, heavily sanitized themes, and patriotic fluff that felt more like a corporate commercial than entertainment. There were no megastars, no moments that stopped the culture, and no reason for viewers to stay in their seats. But if you peel back the layers, and if you ask the people who were actually watching the industry shift, there's a part of this story that almost never makes it into mainstream conversations. Some even call it an open secret. The modern Super Bowl halftime show, the one built around global superstars and cultural dominance, is only as big as it is because of the Wayans brothers. They never performed on the field. They were never invited to take the stage, but they executed a move that rattled the NFL in a way the league has never publicly acknowledged. Here at Scope News, we investigate the history that doesn't get talked about, and the truth about what happened in 1992 is far more suspicious than the NFL wants people to believe. While NBC aired the traditional halftime production, Fox made a decision that looked reckless at the time and revolutionary in hindsight. Instead of rolling over to the Super Bowl like every other network, Fox aired a live episode of In Living Color during halftime. This was not filler, it was a deliberate counterattack. Fox promoted it like an event, and they leaned entirely on the Wayans family's cultural impact to pull it off. And it worked. The moment the marching bands appeared on NBC, millions of viewers switched over to watch Keenen Ivory Wayans' creation unfold in real time. Nielsen ratings confirmed that Fox siphoned a massive portion of the Super Bowl audience during halftime, something no network had ever achieved. This wasn't a quiet dip in numbers, it was a televised breach. It was the first time the NFL learned that halftime wasn't guaranteed attention. The cultural energy of In Living Color, from Damon's sharp comedy to the Fly Girls' choreography, proved that viewers weren't loyal to halftime. They were simply stuck with it. Until this particular family gave America an alternative. Damon Wayans later said, "Before In Living Color, it was marching bands. It was the worst. There wasn't even entertainment. We started the Super Bowl halftime show. We set it off. The next year they brought Michael Jackson." That line isn't bravado. It's an accurate reflection of what the data shows. The NFL had never lost viewers during halftime. They lost them in 1992. And in 1993, they pivoted hard enough to prove they felt the sting. They booked Michael Jackson. Not a safe act, not a marching band, the biggest entertainer alive. That booking wasn't a coincidence. It was a response. And it signaled the beginning of the high-stakes halftime era that defines the Super Bowl today. From that point on, the NFL treated halftime like a cultural battleground. They began spending real money, recruiting global superstars, and designing performances meant to generate headlines and dominate social conversations. The modern halftime show, the one people argue about for weeks, the one that becomes the most watched musical event of the year, was born out of the NFL getting embarrassed on its biggest night. From that moment forward, the NFL treated halftime like a battleground. They poured real money into production, began recruiting global performers, and shifted their entire branding strategy. The superstar era of halftime didn't appear because the league suddenly became creative. It appeared because a black comedy show on a rival network exposed how vulnerable the NFL really was. Every high-profile moment that followed, from Beyoncé's politically charged precision to Prince turning a football field into a concert stage, to Rihanna commanding the night from a suspended platform, came out of that pivot. The league was reacting, not innovating. And the shift traces directly back to the pressure that In Living Color put on them in 1992. This is where the story becomes even more suspicious. Whenever the media revisits the history of the halftime show, they always start in 1993 with Michael Jackson. They present the narrative as if the NFL had a sudden epiphany about embracing pop culture. They frame it like the league reinvented the wheel out of creative inspiration. There is rarely mention of Fox, rarely mention of the family pioneered it all, rarely mention of the ratings breach, rarely mention of how a black sketch comedy show forced the NFL's hand. That absence isn't accidental. It follows an old American pattern. Black innovation lights the match. Corporate America sells the fireworks. And history quietly moves the starting line forward to avoid giving credit where it is due. But when you actually examine the records, the pattern is undeniable. Fox executives acknowledged their halftime stunt was intentional. Nielsen ratings verified that viewers left the Super Bowl broadcast. Damon Wayans directly connected the dots in interviews. And the NFL's immediate reaction, ditching tradition and booking Michael Jackson, confirms just how rattled they were behind closed doors. The modern halftime show didn't evolve naturally. It shifted violently because a black creative force made the old structure collapse. This family didn't step onto the Super Bowl stage, but they changed what that stage would become. They exposed the NFL's vulnerability, forced a billion-dollar institution to innovate, and inadvertently birthed the halftime spectacle America now expects every year. The NFL took the credit, but the brothers created the pressure. Without In Living Color in 1992, the halftime show would have remained exactly what it was: predictable, unchallenged, and forgettable. Instead, it became one of the biggest cultural showcases in the world, built on a reaction to the night the NFL lost control of halftime. Scope News tells the truth. Here are the facts. In 1992, Fox aired a live In Living Color special directly against Super Bowl halftime, intentionally counterprogramming the NFL. Ratings confirmed that millions of viewers switched to Fox during halftime. Damon Wayans has openly stated that In Living Color forced the NFL to upgrade halftime entertainment. The NFL booked Michael Jackson the very next year, marking a historic shift. The modern superstar-driven halftime era began immediately after the NFL's embarrassment in 1992. Mainstream narratives often exclude the brothers' influence, despite the documented timeline connecting their show to the NFL's pivot. Legal disclaimer. This report is presented for educational, historical, and commentary purposes. All names, interviews, broadcast records, and ratings data referenced are derived from publicly available information, media archives, and television industry reporting. Interpretive analysis reflects Scope News' independent investigation into documented timelines and industry responses. This content does not claim official endorsement or acknowledgement from the NFL, Fox, the brothers, or affiliated organizations. Viewer discretion is advised when engaging with investigative media that challenges established institutional narratives.